Are you guys saying action?
What do Dave Chappelle, Pocahontas, Tiger Woods, and Dr. Dre have in common with me? We either are in or have been in an interracial relationship. Interracial relationships have been on the increase in the last 40 years. The U.S. Census Bureau reported in 2005 that there were 422,000 black-white marriages compared to 65,000 in 1970. Today, I'm going to put into picture the benefits and conflicts of interracial relationships. We first will look at the evolution of interracial dating, some ways to deal with social stigma, and the effects of being in an interracial relationship. The evolution of interracial dating has been a very long process and has come a long way since the colonial times. In the 1600s, laws against marriage of interracial couples were passed called miscegenation. These laws were put into effect to keep the indentured white slaves and the African slaves from bonding and forming an uprising against the plantation slave owners. This law I consider ironic, because of the white slave owners on plantations having unwilling relations with their female African slaves. As founded by Gary B. Mills in the Journal of American History, interracial unions must have been less coercive outside of the institution. Historical evidence suggests that local white communities were surprisingly tolerant of interracial unions between whites and free blacks in the antebellum period, despite legal prohibition in many areas. The post-Civil War era and the Emancipation Proclamation brought an entirely new growth in interracial marriages due to the black population moving out into demographically predominant white areas. African Americans are not the only ones who found miscegenation unbearable. Asian men began coming to the Americas in 18th and 19th centuries. Another law called the Page Law in 1875 banned Asian women from entering the U.S. This gave Asian men only the opportunity to date outside of their race. Now, social acceptance of Asian-Caucasian marriage came after World War II when troops married overseas and brought their wives back, making the Page Law disintegrate. Some states just couldn't fathom interracial relationships, bringing about the Virginia Racial Inequity Act of 1924, which recorded the race of babies and made it a felony to marry outside of the race. But almost 40 years later, the Inequity Act was overturned in Loving versus Virginia's Supreme Court, which found the law unconstitutional, that the government could not tell individuals who they could marry. The legal acceptance made by countless legal cases, the civil rights movement, and thousands of interracial relationships that are occurring in the 21st century still does not make a section of society change their minds. Now let's look at some ways to deal with the social stigma of being in an interracial relationship. Kimberly Ripley, in her article Dealing with Interracial Dating at www.ehow.com, gives us some pointers on how to grow a thick skin by pointing out 5 main interrelationship exercises. First, use confidence and public affection by showing physical differences don't bother you and your mate. 2, be open to new traditions and combine and make your own. 3, don't ignore each other's differences. And 4, talk about your values and beliefs. And 5, respectfully reprimand those who disrespect your choices. Now, there are many obstacles to any relationship, whether it's a family member, societies, or children, but an interracial relationship has one more obvious force to overcome. This should not keep you from entering into a relationship, just more aware of what the outcomes could come from your partnership. So let's look at some of the positive and negative effects of being in an interracial relationship. California State University report different points of positive outcomes of being in an interracial relationship on their website, www.fullerton.edu. They say, first, learn some of the positive ideas are to learn other cultures, heritage, and languages. It also gives you courage and offers lessons of sacrifice and strength and compassion. You become stronger in your beliefs, and you're exposed to different ways of thinking. Negative effects of being in an interracial relationship is found in the works of Difficulties in Interracial Marriages by J. Rank at www.family.jrank.org. Some of the negative outcomes they pointed out were family and friends' different views about interracial mixing, the stereotypes of both ethnic sides of society, meaning that each ethnic group represented in your relationship may have a very open reason of why you're in an interracial relationship. For example, a Caucasian male may feel inadequate towards an African American male and would make a comment about misleading stereotypes, such as their employment or amount of children that they may have. 3, one person in the relationship may be passive and another one being more aggressive in dealing with some of the social stigmata. And 4, having children of mixed race being taunted by society. So today we looked at the evolution of interracial relationships, some ways of being able to deal with society's views, and the effects of being in an interracial relationship. It's been 6 years since I started my interracial relationship. We have our ups and downs. He gives me a hard time about being country since I'm from Nebraska, and I give him a hard time about being hood, having grown up in East St. Louis. Now we have some family that acknowledges our relationships and others that do not. But we're here for each other through life's ups and downs, and always remember that we love each other and it's our relationship, not society's.